Welcome back to the Pillars of Nutrition series here on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about nutrition, and that's probably, I shouldn't say it's the most important, but I think it's of the five pillars. It's probably the one that most people would acknowledge is incredibly important, but for the most part, people don't know what to do or won't put the effort in. I'm going to tell you that, in my opinion, it's actually pretty simple. It's not easy to do, especially if you've been eating a certain way for a long time. But I will tell you that I think it's simple as long as you're willing to have an open mind and kind of change some of the things that you've been doing. Because if you're at a point where you're not happy with your health or the way that you look, then you probably can't just keep doing the same thing that you've been doing, or you're not going to get any results that you're looking for. So, you actually become what you put into your body. There's the old saying, you are what you eat. And it's very true in a lot of ways. And it's just amazing to me how much time, effort, and money people put into their houses, into their cars, into the clothes that they wear. And yet, when it comes to food, it's like, well, whatever's most convenient, that's what I'm going to do. Or whatever's cheapest, or whatever tastes the best, that's what I'm going to do. You can buy a new house, you can buy a new car, you can get new clothes, but you have one body. So take the time and energy and effort to be healthy. And there's no better way of doing that than food. So I think that mindset shift is the biggest thing that people need to make a change of when it comes to nutrition. Focusing strictly on calories and focusing on the way you look, in my opinion, is not the way to approach it. I think if you are able to make a bigger effort to think about getting good things into your body, high quality nutrients, high quality foods, as much as trying to get the bad stuff out, then I think that that's a good starting point. There's a great book by Jonathan Baylor called The Calorie Myth, and in that he talks about making your focus getting 10 servings of vegetables in, getting a certain amount of protein based off of your body weight, and then using good fats as to cook the vegetables in or to top the foods that you're eating. And if you do that, you're not going to have the appetite for the other stuff. So that, I think, is the most simple way and the most effective way to approach nutrition, and to just understand that whatever that you put into your body from a food standpoint, you will become. And so if you put junk in, you're going to get a junk return. And so I think understanding, for a lot of people, I think a lot of people don't make the correlation between, or the connection between, long-term health and what you eat. But we're at a point in our nation where 1 in 2, so 50% of adults have a chronic illness. 1 in 4 of those adults have multiple, and we're at a point now where 1 in 4 children are experiencing chronic illness, and we don't have a healthcare system that can handle that. There's no healthcare system in the world that can handle that, and so prevention has to be the key. And there's a great quote by Paul Chek that I heard the other day where he says, "Sooner or later, health will be your number one priority." Let me say that again. Sooner or later, health will be your number one priority. So whether you make that your priority while you are healthy to stay that way, or whether you wait until you are sick, at some point it's going to be the most important thing on your mind. And it's much easier to stay healthy than it is to get healthy again. So regardless of where you're at, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I do want you to understand the importance of it, because it's an extremely big deal. And not only for you, but for the future, for your kids. Experts predict that by 2032, or roughly thereabouts, we're going to bankrupt our nation because of our healthcare costs due to these chronic illnesses that we just don't have medication for. And there will never be a medication that'll take care of all of them. Guess I can't say never, but they've tried and they've failed with most of them. So prevention is definitely the way to go. So now that I have you thoroughly scared, or hopefully have your attention, there's some principles that I think that everybody needs to follow, or at least most people. Again, there's never a one-size-fits-all approach. And if you're here looking for exactly what to eat, I'm going to tell you that you're not going to find that, and I apologize if that's what you're looking for. I'd gladly work with any of you to try and set that up, what works for you. But what I've learned over the past couple of years is that there are extremely healthy people that eat a vegetarian or vegan diet. It can be challenging, but if you put the work in, it can be done. There are people that eat high amounts of meat. There's people on a carnivore diet. There's people that do a ketogenic diet, which is high fat, very low carbohydrate. There's people that just try and cut their carbohydrates. People on the Whole30 diet, eating real food and cutting out dairy products. And there's more to it than that. But the bottom line is that there are a lot of different ways to be healthy and to get the body composition you're looking for. But in the end, all of those diets have at least some similarities, and that's that they're eating high quality, minimally processed, ideally unprocessed food. Now, everything you eat is processed in some way, unless you go out to your backyard and pull it out of the ground and eat it. But things that the more processing that goes into something, the worse off you are eating it for the most part. So all of that being said, kind of hitting on some of these principles that I think would be beneficial for everybody to start out with. The first one's going to sound really simple, but chew your food. The more you can chew your food, all right, 30, 40, 50 times, the better your digestion will be. The better your body will actually be able to use what you put into your body. Take your time when you eat. All right, I need to work on both of those things, but there's a lot of good research showing that those two things alone make a big difference. Get sleep. All right, try and manage your stress, and again, we'll get into those in other videos, but you should never make a decision when you are tired, hungry, or stressed. And if you are tired and stressed, you're going to feel hungry, and then you're going to go and make a bad decision about food. So it's just a vicious cycle. The more good quality sleep and the more stress management practices you have in place, the better decisions you're going to make on food. It's just like after working out, you're much less likely to go eat garbage after a workout. So if you can do those things, it's really going to help. Another principle is try to go about 12 hours between meals. Not every meal, but between your last meal and breakfast. So if you finish up dinner at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, wait till 6, 7, 8 o'clock the next morning. The goal here is not necessarily to reduce calorie intake throughout the course of the day. It's simply to shrink that eating window, or that feeding window, as a lot of people refer to it, because your body does so much when it's at rest. And when you are eating and digesting, you are not resting. Your body cannot put all of its resources towards recovery. So try to make it a daily habit of going 12 hours between the last time you eat and the first time you eat the next day. And if you want to increase that out to 18 hours to give that a try, see how you feel, or 24 hours, weekly or something like that, or even monthly, give that a shot. There's a lot of benefits to fasting that we're not going to get into right now, but there's also nothing wrong with doing that. There's no secret number of times in a day that you should eat. But again, if you can do it all within that condensed eating window, that would be beneficial for most people. Kind of along those same lines, try not to eat too close to bed. All right, so if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, try not to eat after about 7. 2 to 3 hours is a pretty decent amount of time to allow your body to digest the food, and allows you to get some good rest. And again, you can play around with that. It's up to you what works for your body. understanding basic nutrition principles, all right, that uh, fat and carbohydrates are energy sources, and protein as a building block is important from the standpoint of pretty much everybody needs similar amounts of protein. All right. If you are trying to build a ton of muscle or you're trying to perform at a high level, those things can change. But most people need about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, or about 0.36 per pound. It's if you're in the bodybuilding world, it probably sounds like very little, but 0.8 grams per kilogram or 0.36 grams per pound is a good starting point for protein. And then from there, if your goal is to lose some fat, then I would recommend eating a little bit higher fat, lower carbohydrate diet. Allow your body to tap into those fuel sources, the stored fuel that you have as stored fat, and reduce the carbohydrates. Because if carbohydrates are your primary fuel from a food standpoint, then your body's not going to be able to tap into the fat that you have stored. But regardless of what you decide to do, whether you want to go higher fat, lower carb, or higher carb, lower fat, those two need to kind of move together. So if you increase your fat intake, you need to reduce your carbohydrate intake, and vice versa. And the best way to get an understanding of how much you should probably be taking in is to simply see where you're at. Track for a couple of days, track for a week. Don't really change much about what you're doing, but use the MyFitnessPal app, use the Pro Diets app that we have at the Legacy Center to see how much you're eating through the course of the day or through the course of the week. And if you gained weight or if you lost weight, then or if you stayed the same, you'll kind of know what to do. But make the adjustments after that based off of your goals. If you're consuming 1,500 calories and you're losing weight, then great. If you're eating 1,500 calories and you're gaining weight, then we may need to make some adjustments there. But from a standpoint of what most people need to do, those principles that I've hit on, eat quality foods, try and shop at local farmers markets during the summer and fall. Order if you have the room to do it, order. We ordered a quarter of a cow. I've got a couple of deer in my freezer. So use your resources from that standpoint, and try and get the highest quality stuff you can in, and understand that eating higher quality stuff may cost a little bit more in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to help. And a lot of times as well, when you cut out those other snack foods, those low quality foods, then your bill ends up being very similar. And then really just make it a priority. I know I said it, but cook as a family, prepare for the week, do what you need to do. And just understand that it really is important. And so I'm going to put some resources in here. I think Precision Nutrition, which is the organization that I'm certified through, has a great library of resources, and it's a great starting point. They have some good infographics on what your plate should look like, how to build a perfect meal, and those types of things. That's a very good starting point. And then I'll list some other resources that I use as well. But I would encourage you not to try and dive too deep into it right off the bat. Make some small changes, chew your food, get some sleep, eat high quality food, and reduce your feeding window. And then if you're really interested and you want to dive deeper into it, you can. I just don't want there to be a lot of confusion. So on some future videos, I will be talking about what I do personally. But again, what I do doesn't matter, because if it doesn't work for you, if it's not something you're going to do, then it's not sustainable, then it doesn't really matter, because there's not just one way of doing things. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. For those of you that have talked to me about nutrition before, you know that I could probably go for a couple of hours, and so hopefully this 15 minutes didn't seem too long, but I'll be looking forward to talking to you about sleep, stress management, and the community that you're involved with in our next video. And have a great day.